Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Shadowverse. Now, as of this recording, it's probably been a month and a half since I last consistently played Shadowverse, but I did want to finish the story mode, and so that's what we're going to do today. You can skip some battles, so this one is not labeled as complete, but we are able to see the entire story. Also, apparently I sat around too long. Uh, After Calamity's trigger or conclusion, where here we have a crossover with Omen of Storms and a whole bunch of other characters I don't recognize that are new. Um, we had Arissa, the elf character, uh, actually die in the story, which is kind of shocking, but not super shocking because there's always been kind of this push for the story mode characters to not really matter as much as they kind of did, um, as far as leaders and that whole concept. So they've been moving away from that. Like, even when you are at this Fate's Trigger conclusion here, they have moved this away from the they move this away from the story where you select multiple characters and made this more of a you're going to play as several different characters throughout the entirety of the story. Like, here's what I'm talking about. Like, in this, you very specifically select a leader and you play that leader's story. And I think for the most part, that is the way this has always been. And, well, maybe not always. So it kind of flips around. I think we definitely, though, have seen everything here. Well, let's just look at the wrap up of the last story and then we'll start the next story. But yeah, we were playing as these characters, just totally introduced in another alternate universe. None of these standard characters really showed up except for Arissa, and they kind of killed off Arissa. You also have to know the meta context here, where Shadowverse basically rebranded itself with its anime cartoon, and is trying to focus very much on those characters. So this story mode can't help but feel redundant, as it is. And yes, there was this choice, either in Shooting Titans or Parting Shot, where it popped up a box and all you could really do is shoot the main bad guy. And if you tried to click the other box, it says you couldn't do that, at least not now. Alright. So let's download the voice data and just get the recap, because it's been a while for me.
Once I get done with you, there won't be enough left.
You had these 3 titans that were like demigods to the 2 main bad guy gods that we've been fighting up until this point, and they were all fighting each other.
Calm thyself.
And we're in English, which I guess it was always in English, but I'm not sure. It may have been in Japanese originally.
Tongue right out of your mouth.
But you also have a weird thing here where I'm having to actually still click to go forward.
My arms becometh steel.
Nah, a quick death would suit you more.
Not right. You would think would have taken more of a role.
If you picked your fights more wisely,
against
all these crass killings
and
might
Vincent.
have served a purpose.
Vincent should have played more of a
But
role.
look around you, not. The war is over. The city is in shambles. Our people have run off to find shelter.
Pot, meet kettle. One of your mongrels up and dies, and you let order slip out of your hands.
Mongrel, you don't understand a damn thing, Knock.
Right back at you, Vince.
We're still getting the kind of very flat animations with then visual effects put on top of it to try to make it look fancier than it really is.
Why is this happening? Lord, our Shillendrick seal. It was supposed to save us.
No, not like this.
Yeah, I kind of completely forgotten the story here where people are getting turned into these shadows that look somewhat like the shadows that we ran into before.
Help me.
Then we had the whole kids and the nun, and they just threw in new characters again.
We humble ourselves before you and ask for your forgiveness.
This poor world. It didn't have to turn out this way.
I don't know why Arissa is alive even here.
But I'll set things right in the end. I always do.
Will you now? Make your choice, for the end of days is upon us.
So you have this fortune teller that keeps moving the magic bullet around that I think is in her gun, or was in her gun at one point, that could kill the main bad guy. And clearly she's the real bad guy, obviously.
After a time of great strife, a turning point will come. The scales will begin to tip, and the world will begin to tremble. So choose wisely. Who is your enemy? Who will you lay waste to?
See, this is perfect. The choice is actually in the very last here.
My enemy?
Go on. Finish this.
And this is after the point where they have already redone the outfits for these characters to try and refresh them, and they're still kind of not that interesting
I
looking.
have to destroy someone?
I should point out that the reason why I'm not playing Shadowverse, even though them getting slightly more censored was kind of an irritant. It's not like Shadowverse was particularly extreme or lewd in the first place that it needed to be censored. It basically went from a teen plus down to a PG in its censorship of some of the card art. It was 100% the fact that Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel came out. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just a much more popular, much more recognizable collectible card game. And getting in on day one on a new collectible card game is totally the way to play if you're going to try to stay a free-to-player. And I won't get into a full review of Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, but it's good enough, certainly. And if you're, I would say check it out even when you see this video, which will probably be a year later, after Master Duel is out, because these recordings are so far behind. But yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has 5 different anime cartoons. It's got like 10,000 cards that people recognize and really want to play. It's just got a bigger player base in every way. It would be incredibly foolish. I still kind of plan to go to the Second Dinner Marvel collectible card game whenever that gets made and released. Second Dinner is a company. They've licensed with Marvel to make a CCG. Second Dinner was formed from Ben Brode, who was one of the major names behind Hearthstone, which was also very popular. So I will potentially jump from Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel to that game on day one also, but for the time being, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is where it's at, and so I stopped playing with Shadowverse, which is fine because Shadowverse was a little bit exhausting, frankly. I had had my fill of it.
Do it.
Alright. So here's your choice. Shoot ...
I'm afraid you don't have that right. Not for now, at least.
Yeah, I know. I may not have clicked no one deserves to
He's
die.
right there! He's right there, Arisa! Did you forget about everything he did? We can't just forgive and forget. Shoot him and end this!
So you don't get a
You're
choice.
right. He has to be stopped.
Excellent choice. In which case, I bid you adieu. Until next we meet.
So yeah, I have totally forgotten what he did.
Come on, Risa. Get your arrow
I
ready
kind of
now.
assumed that Baron
keep
got
steady.
killed,
Nobody knows
which
what'll
was
happen when
Bunny's
he dies,
companion.
But that doesn't matter. He has to pay. Do your thing now.
I wouldn't be surprised as I start to wrap up the next 4
goes.
chapters
I
that
won't miss.
we start to see the voice acting go away again, because there's always been this like
Be my
delay.
wings as I invoke thy name. Fly true.
See, can we automatically play the next line? Yeah, let's do that. That's way easier.
Hurts. I've never felt
And
this
it's not like
much
I even
pain
have
in
that
my
much
life.
to say, because I don't
I'm
remember
sorry,
any of this.
But it had to
Really,
be this
or
way.
barely remember any of this.
Don't apologize. Not like this.
In fact, I had to check my
It's sad when
files just to
someone
make
dies,
sure
Even if they had to.
I haven't covered where I last covered the
What
story.
misplaced kindness. This world ain't no place for a bleeding heart. Especially
We still
when it
have the
pumps blood to a head
Cape
full
on
of
the
air.
edge being blurred out.
Oh, how I've longed for this moment to savor a new form. It's just so damn fortunate that a meadowlark like you flew my way.
Why don't nobody stay dead around here?
One of the things I'll say is that I barely was even able to get to the end of the latest chapter, because the bad guys and boss battles are just so incredibly difficult. I literally had to
I'm sure
defeat
y'all have
the
heard tell of my
bad
power
guy by
I reclaim that which was taken from me
making him
in
run out
equal
of
and
cards,
undue measure.
which is super long and super
And
dangerous.
you took my life. Words cannot express my gratitude.
Oh, what's going on?
Do you know how long I've had to wait? How many would-be heroes I've had to sift through just to find a worthy vessel? Centuries. Long enough for me to have given up. Long enough for me to cook up lesser measures. You've arrived. A gift from another world. Revel in my victory. I will
So I'm not
change
sure if
this
he's
world,
stealing her body
and
or is
I've
just stealing her
overcome
life
fate to
force.
do it.
No, it hurts. Stop.
Stop struggling. Your body will actually be worth something with me.
So
to
he's stealing
steer
her
it.
body.
Now, I take claim of your flesh. Equal payment for an equal price.
His whole talk of he
am
owns
no
everything
longer a diseased
and he has some
king who
claim
sits atop a throne of prosperity.
that
I
is
am
always
a true
ridiculous.
god. I will possess omnipotence.
And that's where you have to click next. And so that's where that left it, as far as the story is that the main character is just dead. So the powder keg has been set alight and rival erupts in the warfare as the Titans clash. Ishildrig, the Titan of Prosperity, sets his faithful hound Zishelwise loose on his foes. Amid the carnage, Bunny and Arisa finally catch up with Ethan Mudge to prepare for reckoning, but the man, now calling himself a god, wields power beyond their expectations. With their backs against the walls, Arisa and company fights to topple the Titan and set rival to rights. As a summary. But that's entry Entropy's Abyss. And this does then go back. So I guess it just bounces between these characters and the others. And so we're now introduced to a whole new story. Which means we very well may have to go through like 4 varieties of this story just to see. Because like you have Awful World, Mom, Want to See My Father was Sika. Then when you click this dragon character, it's completely different stories on the same map 4 times over, which really feels redundant. So let's just hop into the first one. We won't be really doing any battles. I struggled quite a lot, I'm sure, to do a lot of these battles. Some of these I'm sure didn't really require didn't require battling.
Darkness and shadow.
2 out of the 3
curse spreads its bad
chapters
like
tend
wings
not to
over the
require
land.
any actual battling
The
at
flow of
all,
life has been corrupted,
which
stained by a malevolent god.
kind of highlights
The curtain rises on a new stage.
the fact that this
Velsa,
story mode
where shadows
is
shroud
just
all,
completely
covered
broken
by
as far as
infinite
being
rivers of blood.
connected to the actual card game of
It is a
Shadowverse.
land of claws, fangs, and
Really,
strength,
this is just a visual
created by the
novel
Lord of Darkness.
put in top of
But the Lord
the
sleeps, and his realm is rife with
the collectible
conspirators
card game,
who
which
would
is
steal
mostly
his
a
throne.
multiplayer experience.
Dragon newts, vengeful souls, yokai, werewolves.
Yokai are Japanese
Vampires.
demons, basically.
These beasts spend their every waking hour
Or monsters.
locked in conflict. Fang against fang, claw against claw. Who shall
There
wear the
is a
crown
story
of
mode
Wind?
in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel,
Will
but
it
the way
be
they
the
do
meek?
it
He
is
once sought
the story
vengeance
modes
for
are
his kind,
fairly
but
short.
has now lost
There's
his
maybe
purpose.
8
But whether he is doomed
chapters,
eternally for
and
failure,
usually there's
none
somewhere
can
around
foresee.
3 or 4 duels,
Will it be the bitter?
and there
He
are also
longs for the
scripted
past
duels
and
that
resents the present.
are basically
But what his
tutorials
future will
that you
hold,
win in one turn,
none can fathom.
and you get like maybe 1 or 2 of those.
Will it be
So,
the hollow?
It takes about
He
30
has no
minutes
memories,
with a
and
fairly
yet
high
is a
guarantee of getting
master
it
the
done on the
blade.
first try to do a story
But
mode
for
in
whom
Yu-Gi-Oh!
he fights, none can tell.
But oddly, in the Yu-Gi-Oh!
Will it
story
be the
mode,
lost? She
they
quests
don't
for her mother,
they haven't
following a
actually
trail of
told
whispered
any
words,
story
but
around
where the path
any of
will
the
lead her,
cartoon characters,
none can see.
which
These
you would
lives
have
will
expected
join,
that, and they kind of did that with the
intersect,
previous Yu-Gi-Oh! Game,
but will they
Duel
be
Link,
enough
that
to
didn't quite
overcome
play the
heavy
same way as
grasp
Master
of
Duel
fate?
and regular Yu-Gi-Oh! Plays. Um,
A moot question. Mortals cannot overthrow a god.
but
You are weak and an utter
Yeah.
disappointment. How you managed to make it here, I
so
sure don't
what
know.
you get in the story modes of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just stories
I was
around
hoping for someone worthy.
card expansion packs.
Indeed, I was hoping
So if
for
the
my next
latest if the next card expansion is about, say,
So this is the Lord of
dragons,
Darkness.
then it would be a story about the
Lord?
dragons.
blessing. No. I am a god.
Hmm.
And you all are sheep in my fold. Now I will keep you as long as there's any profit in it.
So here you have Arissa's body taken over by,
To lose your value to me, ye shall be led to the slaughter.
which it would have been very helpful to put Arissa parentheses and Shilendrog.
They stretch forth their hands, but cannot grasp victory. They strive with all their strength, but cannot defy fate.
And see, I did not
Claws and
watch this
fangs
intro
break
ever
and
all the
shatter
way through,
before fading into
because
darkness.
really think I would have
The
remembered
ending
that
of
part,
our newest tale
or
is
they've
as of yet
updated
unwritten.
this intro, which I probably didn't. So yeah, more than likely I completely just have never sat through this. And then this starts to make a little bit more sense, but it does ask the question as to, is this land, this awful world, just the same world as the previous chapter, maybe hundreds of years in the future, after all the humans had been destroyed? Or did the Shillendrag manage to jump to a completely different world? I'd have to kind of assume that that it is just like hundreds of years in the future, and they are just kind of doing the exact same idea over and over again, where you have a chapter that is set in the past, and then you have a chapter that feels like it's set in the future, even though that really wasn't the case in the whole Natria storyline many chapters ago. It definitely felt like that was the case. These are small amounts to download, but it would be nice just to download all the audio.
Please. Don't kill me.
And at this rate, I'm going to run out of water
How could you do this?
to drink and talk. And if I keep on talking, it's going to take forever.
I miss you. Every night, I have the same nightmare. I don't remember the details, but it was like being lost in a fog. It leaves me terrified and trembling. Nothing but blood red at the end of it. And then, I wake. I hate it, but the nightmares don't surprise me. 'Cause the whole world is awful, full of lies and filth. There's nobody around, right?
You sure you know what you're talking about?
Yes. I'm telling you, there's a sword-wielding monster around these parts. And it has amnesia, apparently.
This is bad.
What I can already tell you, though, is I'm fairly certain that none of these characters and none of the story ever led to any card expansion in Shadowverse.
Huh? Mom?
Which makes very little sense. At least Yu-Gi-Oh! Gets that a little bit better. Right?
Hungry.
Mom! I'm here! Where are you?
Because there's like no cross-promotion, really.
You must stay hidden.
You could easily
must not
never
fight
do
for
the
that good
story
reason.
mode,
Come.
and only do
Quickly.
multiplayer Shadowverse.
I will be waiting
Or
for you.
never do multiplayer Shadowverse and only do the story mode.
I have to get going. Mom's waiting for me. Velsar. It's an awful world. Nothing but fiends. Violent yokai. Ferocious
I
dragons.
wish we could speed up the
and
text
barbarous
to
werewolves.
about twice the speed here, because there's
Everyone fights and
going to
fights,
be some
trying to
slowness
prove
here
their
with
pride
not
is
that much
best.
art in the background. Like, we're
They
looking
all
at
say
Pitch
the
Black
same
now.
thing. We'll defeat the Lord of Darkness.
And there's going to be a lot of
take his throne and take this world.
repetitiveness.
But they are all bark and no bite. Just dumb underdogs who can only dream of ruling the world. 'Cause no one can defeat Mom.
Mom.
Good.
Interesting.
No one's here.
So Sekka is the
I'm
daughter
hungry.
of Arissa
No,
slash
this isn't
Ishawag.
about me. Mom
I'm going to
is so much
mispronounce his
hungrier.
name every
I
time.
have to hurry.
Or
What do you
maybe
think you're doing there?
the idea is that she thinks her mother
It's
can
not safe
defeat
around these parts.
the
You should leave.
Lord.
Don't come any closer.
But Mom, I think, is dead.
That magic. She's Ninetales. I have to spread the word.
So she just did a bow attack like Arissa.
When Mom wakes up, you're all done for.
Hmm.
even the Lord of Darkness
This
is no
feels
match for her.
inspired by the
So,
Nine-Tails
better
Fox
run.
in Naruto.
I can put up with a little hunger. So just wait, Mom. I'm coming. A long time ago, Velsar wasn't so bad. 'Cause it had a fox with 9 tails. It had Mom. She was stronger and more beautiful than anyone. And that's why they all hated her. Something terrible happened to her, and she became weak. I was attacked too. Or at least, I think I was. I
So
don't really
clearly
remember,
she
but
is
it had
thinking
to
of
have
herself
happened.
as
That's why I got
the
separated
mother.
from Mom. And I don't know where she is anymore.
It wouldn't make more sense
Now they're all
if
looking for me,
Ursa/Ishalog
just like when they looked for Mom. They
created
want to take
Sekka,
my power.
and now
I'm
she's
scared.
got
I'm
amnesia
alone.
and
I
made
can't
up
trust
this delusion
anyone.
of a mother.
Sometimes, when it gets to be too much, I break down and cry.
All of these monsters
But I
would have
can't
had to
give
have been
up.
created by
I
some
have to
form
keep
of
going.
magic.
I have to find Mom. It's okay. Everything's going to
One
be
would
alright.
assuming
When I
this is
find
the
Mom,
same world
she'll-
as the previous chapters, the same
She'll fix
cowboy
everything.
town. It definitely now looks much more
Mom, I'm
Asian
almost there.
inspired in its architecture.
I'm going to wake her up. And then Mom will give me a big, warm hug.
The thing here definitely screams that there's an ambition in these single player modes to let's not play the battles. We're gonna have to make sure we just click skip battle. There's an ambition here to write a lot of dialogue, and they do a decent job of dialogue, but they don't do a particularly great job of storytelling overall. A beginning, a middle, and end, an overarching theme and tale. It's more just people talking to people and having conversations kind of for no reason. It almost feels like they're just stalling for time.
Mom, where are you? I want to see you.
And then clearly
Everyone else has reached me. You are the only left, Sekka.
the ambition here is to
Anyone else?
tell a story,
Were there other 9-tailed foxes?
but they really
Once
don't
you are
have
here,
the skill
will be complete.
for a lot of
Surround me,
animation.
Sekka.
So this probably would have been better as
Everyone.
a
I've never heard Mom
comic
say that
book
before.
or a story, just
The
a
word
short
made my
story
heart go
novel,
warm. Everyone.
because
Every one of us.
clearly there is just
Not
a
just me and
writer
Mom.
who is writing text,
Maybe
and
I
then
have older
there's
siblings. Or
other
maybe
people,
I'm the big
either
sister.
whether it's a
Oh,
team,
and Dad. I have to have a dad, right?
or just one other
wonder
person
what
that
my
is deciding
family's
on the
like.
art.
If I have
And
a
very
big brother or
often the
sister,
art is
I
just
hope they're nice.
inside.
We can take naps together and play all kinds of games.
Clearly they needed to establish some kind of
If I'm the older one, though,
inside your own head
like a baby
thinking
sister.
static
Not
image
that I'd mind a baby
instead of
brother,
blackness.
but it'd be cute to have someone who chases me around and looks up to me, you know? Dad.
Had they
I bet he's
established that
strong and
very early, they
admirable.
could have
I hope he'll
reused
be
it for
proud of me.
multiple characters and
This
in multiple
world's awful,
scenarios.
but maybe all that can change. All I need is my family, and I'll be happy. Everyone must be so worried about me.
It is very
Wondering where I am.
odd, certainly, to be kind of pushed
sorry
into
I'm
playing a
dragging everyone
visual
down.
novel
It's
in
because
a collectible card game.
I don't
It's
remember
not like
anything. Mom, my family.
I would
Just
have picked to play
nothing.
this specific visual novel
I don't
if this
even
was a
know why I'm
standalone
here.
product.
I think
If
I
I
was
was going to
chased.
play a
someone
visual
must have hit me
novel,
on
it
the
would
head
have
and
been
knocked out all
something
my memories.
like,
Sorry, I must sound like an idiot. But
I want to say
there is one
Chobits,
thing
but
I'm sure about.
I'm not sure if that's an anime or
I'm
visual
going to
novel,
find Mom.
or
It's
both.
my duty. And we'll finally be together as a family
Steins
again.
Gate is a
I'll
good
never feel
example.
hungry
Like,
or sad
Steins
again.
Gate is a sci-fi
worry,
time
Mom.
traveling
I'm
theme,
coming.
which would be much more interesting to me,
Would you look at
and
that?
it is one of the top
Guess the rumors were
top
true.
10, top 100 visual novels ever reviewed, and that would be
Smell that.
really the ones I'd want to
That's the
play.
scent
It's
of
just
some
maybe 4 or
powerful
5
magic.
really well written, really
Yeah,
well animated
nine-tail
things.
magic. Come here,
Um,
sweetie. We won't hurt you.
Plus, most visual novels
Yeah,
don't have this
right.
art style,
You're
so
after my magic.
if you are a big fan of visual novels,
Well,
then you
no use
probably
hiding
are
it now,
at
is
least
there?
somewhat of a fan of the
You
moe
got us, detective.
anime girl
Guido needs
art
your powers
style.
So he can take over Velsar. So cough up your
So,
mana,
and
little
that you
fox.
really don't get too much of
The
that.
name my
You
mom gave me isn't
instead
Little
you
Fox.
get
It's Sekka.
these
And
kind of
why should we
unique
care?
drawings.
I hate
These
you.
like anthropomorphic
All of
furry
you.
animals are a little weird, particularly
You
this one
attacked
with
my
the
mom.
with
You tore
the
apart my family.
Huh? Hey, pup, you
with the
don't have
bra.
I won't lose to the likes of you.
Yep. This definitely looks slightly
Fine.
different, but it
You're
really
asking for it.
feels like it's just the same as
We'll
Arissa's
teach you
art.
to mess with us.
I mean, bow and arrow.
My family is waiting for me. So get out of my way.
Yeah. I would say the blinking is about the only thing I could kind of applaud here, but even that's kind of generic. If you look at this wolf head, this easily could have been a male wolf head, and I would have lost the fur here. Definitely scaled it down a lot more to make it more feminine. Because this really looks like they just took a male wolf head and put it on top of a female wolf's body, whereas clearly this head looks way more connected. But I imagine these secondary characters barely matter, so I bet they didn't put any real effort into it.
Mirage, Foxfire, Iki.
That would have been where the
You jumped up, little.
where the card battle would have happened.
Told you to settle down.
Why? So that you can catch me?
You're just prolonging the inevitable, pup. Ever
What's
heard
funny
of
is she
fox
said
that outran a wolf?
Mirage, Foxfire, Iki,
You exist for
IKKI,
one reason, to be
which
hunted.
I feel like that may be of an intentional misinterpretation of Ichi, which would be ICHI,
All I see is
uh,
prey. Give it
which
up,
is
little fox.
the
Shut it!
Japanese for one, kind of a long way of saying
I have a
one.
family.
It would
not
be
alone.
pronounced
You
each.
don't scare me. I will
Each
never,
Nissan
ever listen to you.
is 1, 2, 3 in Japanese. It would make certain sense if she's saying she's doing an anime style thing,
Time for this.
going attack,
Sekka,
strong attack 1.
Mom,
Sekka, remember, you must not fight without good reason. Your power is precious. You must not waste it.
I'm sorry, Mom. I won't do it again.
Oh yeah, you
I
will.
can feel it. Soon, we will meet.
So if we've got 4
I
stories
am
here,
waiting.
and
Be
this
quick.
character is being made out like they're going to be
Mom,
the most
I
important
can
character,
sense you too.
which arguably this makes
The presence of your magic is
probably
getting
would have been
closer
better
and
just to
closer.
focus on this character only
Coming as
and not
quick as I
have
can.
3 other characters
Mom,
in this chapter.
lonely. And so scared. And it hurt. But it'll all be over soon.
I would imagine what's going to
We'll
happen
fight
is
her, and we'll be
each of the
together
main
again.
characters are going to end up together, and they're all going to end up either fighting each other or fighting together.
Hey, can you stand?
Yeah.
You still have
Don't
the
worry about me.
standard
Should have taken the power of the Nine Tails more seriously, but
Uh,
she was so
getting
small.
knocked down and then
And she only
coming
had
back
one
up when
tail.
they take 1 damage.
She might have more hidden away. All I know is she can't fully use her powers yet. Right now, we still have a chance at nabbing her.
Yeah. We'll try again, after our report to Guido. If she really is Ninetales, we'll need backup.
Roger that. The hunt is on.
One of the things I think I really don't like, though, is that you had this whole cowboy theme in the previous chapter, and they really didn't do enough with that, in my opinion. So I kind of feel like the same thing is just going to happen here, is that they'll start to establish something interesting, and then they'll kind of just rush through the ending. That's how the previous chapters have been. The build up to the big battle takes too long, and then when the big battle happens, it feels unsatisfactory. Particularly since most of the big battles do tend to center around playing the card game, and it's really hard to make a collectible card game feel like a really big fight.
Hey, wolves never give up the hunt. Should have killed us when you had the chance.
This is Velsar. No such thing as mercy here. Hey, like I said, it's your fate to be captured. If you think of it that way, it isn't so bad.
Guido's actions might seem brutal, but he's kind at heart. He'd make a far better ruler than Ninetales.
I don't care!
Seka, remember, you must not fight without good reason. Your power is precious. You must not
We may
waste it.
find out that Guido is going to be a main character.
Come with us, Ninetales.
Your power belongs to Guido.
No. Stop lying. You already took my mom from me. If you had my powers, you'd take away everything else in the world.
The fact that Seka keeps blaming everybody for taking the
You
mother,
don't know what you're talking about.
it really just highlights that
Dear
she's
old Mommy did lose her tails
crazy.
and her power, but she has no one to blame but herself.
unless she's claiming
You saying
every
it's her
single
fault she got
person
attacked?
on the planet attacked her.
Wow, you really are a detective. Yeah, Ninetales tricked us all, so she could become the Lord of Darkness.
She crossed the vampires and tried to take over the world. At least, that's the story.
You're lying.
Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Not like it matters.
Either way, little fox, your powers are all we need.
Stop. Don't take another step.
Just give up.
The problem
And accept your fate!
with the idea of
No one decides my
magic
fate
power
but me.
being able to be taken
Mom,
through fighting,
sorry.
you'd almost assume that there would be a diminished return.
Just shut it and go away.
Like,
I'm going to see my mom.
that there would be a finite amount of magic in a world like this, and every time a fight happens, that amount of magic becomes smaller and smaller,
Don't come any closer, she says.
unless there's
Does it look like
some
we take orders
idea
from pups?
of violence creating more magic.
You aren't using your full power, are you? Why not? Think you can talk your way out of this?
Which I guess that's
Sheltered
kind of the
kids like
problem
you.
with the idea of magic in general, is where does magic really come from? Does it come from
Finally meet Ninetales,
the
or Seka as you call yourself.
from
You
the
caused me a lot of trouble, you know.
Guido,
the
we failed you.
energy, the
Forgive us.
food, the calories that
Well,
people eat,
figured I'd have
their
to get my
muscles,
claws
or their
dirty sooner or
emotional
later.
energy, or
Now,
their souls
go
even.
get those wounds licked.
Up.
I'll take over from here.
Yes, sir.
Or does magic come from some kind of
Now, little fox, I
wellspring
believe you've already been
somewhere?
briefed. I need
Or
your
is it a
power,
gift
you
from
see.
some kind of god that
Your
continuously
tails
is
are pockets
given?
of magic. If I eat them, I will gain all the power I need to change Velsar.
Yeah, if.
Here, they're
Guess I
saying
should've
that
said when.
magic is in the tails.
It's the food chain, Ninetales. You were born to be eaten.
I'm not Ninetales. I'm Seka. That's the name Mom gave me. And I'll sear it into your heart.
I wonder if second means something in Japanese. I wouldn't know.
Flare! Foxfire!
That was another fight. Another probably 2 or 3 hours of struggling against, struggling for a card fight, card victory. Which, that certainly is part of the reason why Shadowverse got exhausting, is that there was a lot of extra... Miwaku, I don't know what that was stand for.
Fire ropes. Let's see you try to wriggle out of this.
You weren't listening, were you, tiny Ninetales?
But yeah. Shadowverse
You're being more trouble than you're worth.
wants you to do these special occasional event solo modes and arena runs and multiplayer duels, daily quests and solo stuff. It was getting really ridiculous, where you were spending, really felt like you wanted you to spend somewhere between 6 and 8 hours every single day just playing Shadowverse, which is way too much time for somebody that doesn't want to make this their only game.
If Mom comes back, we'll beat him.
And that's been a consistent problem with collectible card games with daily quests anyways, is that they are constantly asking for at least 3 or 4 hours every couple of days of gameplay.
Not that it matters. I can talk myself hoarse,
Which, I get some of that. They probably want everybody to log in and play at least 3 games. And ideally a card game can go, on average, 20 minutes, but most collectible card games can be a lot longer than 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour. But then there's definitely a lot of them that are just not generous with how they treat your time.
That's my line, you little brat.
And that's certainly an example of why I wouldn't want to play something like World of Warcraft or an MMO.
Say mean things. I hate you. I wish you'd all disappear. I exist because Mom gave birth to me. I live for my family, not for you.
So I wonder if Sekka's gonna
Why are you attacking me? Why are you
end up
chasing me?
eating / taking the magic from Guido
I
here.
just want to see my mom again. That's all I want.
Like I care.
It's kind of coming back to me at this point with the whininess that Orisa had this whole time.
But it also doesn't matter what you want.
Sekka definitely seems to have that same lines of dialogue and that same whininess and just pathetic, pathetic.
It's all lies in this dumb world.
I don't even have another word for it. I don't have a synonym. It's just whininess.
I don't need anything else.
Just repeating the same things and blaming everybody else or complaining about things. So I kind of assume that Orisa here,
And she got away.
Orisa's soul and body is actually Orisa's soul, and so
I'll just send her right to the grave to rest in pieces.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Sekka fights Orisa, who is actually Isolong,
Mom,
and
I'm sorry.
we get back to the regular Orisa.
But I made it. I'm here now. I can feel it. This is the place. Mom? Mom! It's me, Sekka. I'm here. I was scared, lost and alone. But that's over now, right? Say something. Mom.
Yeah, we're like 44 minutes into this and we've barely gotten anywhere on the story.
Finally. I finally found you.
This is either a hallucination or a
Me too.
trick.
This is everything I've been waiting for.
one would assume that's what that was. And it's important to point out that some of these chapters were added in bits and pieces, so it's very possible chapter 4 was where I would have had to stop when it first came out without the voice acting, and then you would have just been stuck there for a couple of months. That's why right now is kind of a perfect time to stop doing the story mode, is because it sort of wraps up the story, I think.
So much.
I'm hoping.
Did you know?
And
I hated waking up.
we
because
don't
I'd
have
be
to do a
alone.
ton of reading.
And I was afraid to sleep because it felt like someone was watching me. And I was scared to think that maybe I had made you up. I couldn't help it. But you were here. I knew it. I'm so glad. There were times when I wanted to just give up and cry, but I'm glad I didn't.
This is another example of them
Everything's going to be okay
wanting
now,
to
right?
have interactions and
fix everything,
conversations and moving a little too
Oh,
fast.
I almost forgot. There
Because-
are other boxes too, right?
She's
I should say hello. Where are they?
Saka,
she's
Yes, Mom?
found her mother already.
they have already returned.
Returned? Where? Do we have a home?
This may just be a case
I
that
can't believe it.
Sekka is
It's like a
one
dream come
of
true.
the
I
Nine
can say
Tails that
goodbye
the
tonight
Nine Tails
sleeping out
have
in the
it.
dark and cold. I want to see our home. Where is it?
Saka,
Yes, Mom?
just like everyone else, you'll return
Oh, yes.
inside me.
Okay.
Hmm.
Wait.
You asked if there were other nine-tailed foxes, but there has only ever been one. There has only ever been me.
What do you mean?
So she
Do
got
you
broken
remember,
apart,
Saka? I told you I was hungry.
and
Oh, that's right. I should have brought you something to eat. But
And
I forgot.
put back together.
I'm sorry.
Forgot? No, you have brought me something. You, Saka.
What?
Saka. I cannot comprehend what gave you that notion. I did not think you would develop thoughts and emotions when you were ripped from my body.
Mom, I don't get it.
I am not your mother. The nine-tailed fox is a unique and singular existence. You are not my daughter. You are my remaining 5 tails.
What?
There is an argument to
I was
keep
defeated by these
separated
cretins, and I
instead
lost
of
my tails.
merging together for one
With them
ultimate
went my
powerful
power.
creature
I
that
can
has
barely
already been
move now.
defeated.
Of the tails that were ripped from me, I have recovered 4. But the remaining 5 drew together and became a separate entity. And that entity now seems to foolishly believe it has its own life, its own destiny. How infuriating. Almost laughable. But those days of humiliation are over.
Mom, what are you... Please, don't be like this. Are you mad? Is it because I didn't bring you any food? I'm sorry. I really am. Please, don't look at me like that.
I would say,
Do I scare you,
storyline wise, it
Saka?
would make a lot more sense for her to just
Yes,
attack her.
Good.
Mom.
Saka.
That's right. Mom, you gave me a name. It's me. You're Seka.
Saka. Snow falling gently like petals of flower, dancing on the wind. An illusion fated to melt.
I guess Seka might
That
be
is what
Japanese
you are.
for snow.
No,
Snowflakes
You
or
are
something.
incomplete. For you are nothing more than a part of me.
it can't be.
Of course,
It was
this
all
opens
just
up
a
the door
nightmare.
that Seka should
Wake
eat
up,
the
Seka.
mother.
Please.
Seka,
If one
there's
personality
no need to be scared.
must exist and the other must die.
You are merely returning to me.
All I wanted was for you to hug me. I worked so hard just to see you.
Entrust yourself to me.
But then,
Seka, return to me.
stop. Please,
It's kind of funny how they slide around the
don't kill
whole
me. Why?
screen
How could you do
without
this?
really any walking animations.
Don't eat me.
Stay still.
See, that would be interesting if Seka literally died at that point, and so you had just 4 or 5 chapters to around the idea of introducing a character that you care about a little bit to then kill her off so that then you really care about hating the Ninetales. But I don't think Shadowverse has the guts to stick with that story.
Not again.
So is this a dream?
Mom. Mom? No, Seka. That wasn't real. It was
Yeah.
just a nightmare. It had to be. Mom would never try to eat me.
So either Seka just ate the Ninetales.
You sure you know what you're talking about?
Yes, I'm telling you, there's a sword-wielding monster around these parts.
Sword
And it has
wielding,
amnesia,
though.
apparently.
With amnesia.
This is bad. I have to.
But this is
Go
also
find Mother. You are an indomitable little wildflower,
repeat.
aren't you, Lady Ninetales?
And here we have the fortune teller back.
Oh my.
Annoying.
You can rest easy, little foxglove. I neither need nor want your power.
Who are you?
It's funny she's winking with
Call
one
me
eye.
Floess.
That was a thing they
What
did
are
a
you?
lot too. We're still seeing
Something
the
that
same
can't be
animation
captured in
issues.
words. Your actions will define me. Oh, again with the trust issues. Listen, I've no interest in hurting you. There'd be no merit in it. After all, the curtains are about to fall on this stage.
What are you talking about?
There's no more time, little foxglove. It doesn't matter what we do, because it will soon all be swallowed by darkness.
Is that all you had to say? Then I'm going.
Going where?
To where Mom is.
Why?
What do you mean, why? I'm...
Sad and lonely? Oh, little one. You keep singing the same tune, but it's one without meaning. You go because you feel compelled, right?
What are you trying to say?
Nothing.
It'd
There's
be
nothing to say
interesting
to
if
you.
it turns out
But I do
that
love
this
making that pretty head spin with
universe
riddles.
is just looped
Let
in
me ask you,
time
little
and they keep
foxglove,
making
have you
the
ever
same
wondered
mistakes
why
over
you
and
have
over
no
again.
memories, and why that never seemed to bother you? No? Well, you should. My, I've let my mouth run on for far too long. Any longer, and I might upset your mother.
I'm not scared of you.
Good. I'd much rather have people be mesmerized by me. Remember to be careful, though. I have seen futures in which you don't get eaten. Let's hope this is one of those happier timelines, shall we?
So we are just straight up into time travel at this point.
Seems I've more
Which
than overstayed my welcome.
There's
Goodbye, little
too much
foxglove.
in these stories to have time travel and timelines
What
be
is
introduced
she?
as a concept.
No, there's no time to waste. I need to find Mom.
They have already returned.
Returned? Where?
Of course, we're seeing that same problem again where they're just doing the same dialogue over and over again.
It's like a dream come true.
So
I can say goodbye to
while I
Rydo and
appreciate
Dark and
voice
Cold.
acted lines,
I want to see her
it
home.
really doesn't
Where
matter
is it?
if they're just copying and pasting the same voice acting and the
going
same
on?
dialogue right that we
no.
just saw with these flashbacks.
Hey, you sense this?
Could it possibly be?
Oh no!
What's funny is I
Did you
think
see
this
that?
story,
That runaway tail? You bet.
the story
Guido's birthday is
went
coming early this
differently.
year. Let's get her.
Round and round in circles she goes. When she'll stop, nobody knows. You have to
This
face
again
the truth,
feels
little
like
foxglove.
this is the
I've grown tired of this play.
this feels like this would have been a chapter that would have been added later, and that's why it has a flashback in it, which just makes for a worse experience when you are trying to go through these all at once, which was really the only way that you should experience something like this, instead of like potentially getting a single page of a comic book or 3 or 4 pages of a comic book every
You
couple of
shouldn't talk to
months.
strangers.
All right, that's as far as you go, pup.
Think someone needs a timeout.
No!
Give us your
I
power.
guess in
and
this
we'll give you a
timeline
true
she
king
didn't
in the form
use
of
her
Lord Guido.
power to actually attack
He'll be
anybody
far
before,
better than any Dragonute or
so she might be
yokai,
slightly
I can promise you
stronger.
that.
So turn yourself in, pup.
Mirage! Foxfire! Iki!
Nope, she still uses the spell.
Can't escape destiny.
It's coming for you, and fast.
Stop! Don't take another step!
Just give up.
And accept your fate.
I made it.
And who are you?
And here we have
supposed to be,
a
Goldilocks?
Dracula
You
character,
trying to play hero?
vampire character, but not
I'm not
our
sure
vampire
crushing two
character
pests qualifies as
that
playing
we've been
hero.
seeing in the main set
You
of
asked for it,
characters.
smart guy.
Hey, I never asked for help. I can take them alone.
Stand down. I cannot attack and defend you at the same time.
If you think you can just waltz in here, you have another thing coming!
You have tried to fell me before and failed. This time will be no different.
Oh, great. Another loon.
Let's tear him to shreds.
What's funny here is I don't think we're gonna
Things
see
never
this
change.
character's story
Who are
until
you?
the end, so
I am Aluzar.
much like the
Pleased to make your acquaintance again, Ninetails.
we
Aluzard.
probably won't see his
You're after
perspective
me
of the
too, aren't
story until after we've
Not this
seen
time.
the other 3 characters' perspective of
It
the
is a
story.
terrible thing. Having your blood on my hands.
Huh? What are you talking?
Man, oh man, you sure picked the wrong wolves to mess with. So, we finally meet Ninetails, or Sekka as you call yourself. You caused me a lot of trouble, you know.
Guido, sorry. We barely bought you enough time.
Well, figured I'd have to get my claws dirty sooner or later. Now, go get those wounds licked.
What's funny here is I don't think that this is even a
Yes,
battle chapter. Like, really, there's only 3 battle
Now, little
chapters
fox,
out of
I
8
believe you've
chapters
already
at
been
most.
briefed. I need your power, you see. Your tails are pockets of magic. If I eat them, I will gain
Again,
all
just
the power
repeating
I
lines
need
of
to change
dialogue.
Velsar.
Yeah, if.
Guess I should have said when. Now die!
And it certainly would be a different
Got a knight in
experience
shining armor.
if this was just fully animated
Piece is so
and
cheap.
you were passively
Chief.
watching
It can
a
be bought with the price of several
30-minute to hour-long anime episode.
What would you know?
But even then, there would be a lot of
You're just a
editing
talking carcass.
and abridging. It's been over an hour, and we still haven't gotten
Run.
through one of
It will
these.
all be meaningless if you die here.
Why can't anyone in this world make sense?
Looks like we're finally in agreement. Spent a few too many nights at the pub, Sir Knight.
I wish, but I cannot get inebriated.
Then why are you here? That
Lot of-
useless lizard sent you.
Extra dialogue here.
Ha! Like slicing through butter.
I just finished playing Fallout 3, and one of the things about Fallout 3 and most RPGs is that it had a ton of dialogue,
Listen, Velsar's
and it just
fools
gets
like
really,
you.
really
Pray
overwhelming
who
to
I'd
have
like the
that
king of
much
the jungle.
story
You're
and
delusional.
dialogue thrown at
The
you.
Lord of Darkness is mine. I'll rip his head off his body and his crown off his head. Then all of Velsar will bow to its new
And
king,
maybe in Japanese,
Lord Guido.
a chapter like
So will
this
you.
would be
In your next life.
much shorter to say, but in English it's
Run.
quite a lot.
But you're hurt.
A far greater and more terrifying fate awaits you. But you must not fear. I too have used you. Many times. But I have gained nothing but pain. I have stabbed you as you cried, sundered you as you screamed, until finally I realized you have a soul. No one can take that from you. No one. So there is no need to fear.
I don't understand.
I suppose some might argue that monsters don't have souls. That is the more
I'm sorry.
traditional interpretation, is that if you became a vampire or a werewolf, or if you were a monster who was never human in the first place, you would not have a soul left.
What was he? I can't leave him.
But in this universe where it seems like there are no humans that exist at all,
Saka, this way. You're almost here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Here. I can feel it. This is the place. Mom? Mom! It's me, Seka. I'm here.
and so you're practically expecting her to try and eat her.
I've been waiting for you,
So
Saka.
the more surprising thing would be for Seka to just immediately attack her, and
This
then
is everything I've been waiting for.
and then it turned out to be a trick, and Ninetales really is the mother, and she wasn't actually going to eat her. Like, you don't get that in storytelling or horror that much, where the person you're following, turns out to be wrong, turns out to be crazy, and turns out to do the wrong thing for not really good reason. Everything often is just written as if everyone is logical and everyone is perfect,
Come,
and
Saka.
everything
closer.
becomes then very predictable and very boring.
Saka. Closer.
Mom.
Let me ask you, little foxglove. Have you ever wondered why you have no memories? and why that never seemed to bother you? No? Well, you should.
Mom, do you know what I am?
Seka, why are you just standing there? I feel weak. I feel hungry.
Mom, answer me. Please. I don't remember anything. I just knew I had to find you. I need you to tell me what I am. What Seka is.
Why are you trembling?
I don't know. But I've been having this nightmare. The same one. Over and over again. In it, you eat me. Why can't I remember anything? No one treats me as your child. They just call me Ninetails. Tell me why.
I am not your mother. The nine-tailed fox is a unique and singular existence. You
So
are not
it's
my daughter.
just at this point that the story
You
starts
are my
to get
remaining
interesting.
5 tails.
An hour and 6 minutes into it,
Please.
or maybe a little
Say
less than that.
something. Tell
And
me
then
this
that's
is
going to be
right.
the end
Tell me I have it all wrong.
until the next chapter.
Tell me the world has you
Of
all
course, we also have
And all
3
that I've
other
heard about me.
character
Tell me
stories
they were all
that we
lies.
have to balance in our head at the
Please,
same
Mom.
time.
I'm begging you.
Very well. It is all exactly as you say. So come here and entrust yourself to me. Seka,
Please tell me one more thing. Why do you want me to come closer? Do you really love me, Mom?
of course. I only wish to hold you close.
Mom, I hate this world. I hate it so much. It's awful. It's forgotten what kindness is. I wish it would all disappear. I wish you would disappear! You were everything to me!
So, is she the
All I wanted was
remaining
a mother to
5
hug.
tails still, or the
I was
remaining
lonely.
4
I was
tails?
dumb.
Does she
And
lose a
still-
tail every time she gets eaten?
Still, you couldn't trick me. What kind of fox are you?
I never had a daughter. I do not understand love. But I do know that I desire you. I wish for my powers to return, Seka. Then the entire world will be under my spell, and it will grow to fear and love.
But clearly
me.
with this story,
For I am the nine-tailed fox. I
if
bewitch.
some part of Seka
I
is
will
also
not
part of
fail.
Arissa,
Fortune was playing tricks last
Then-
time, but this time, I shall have
then
the last
that's
laugh.
obviously going to be a
Return to me,
overarching
Seka. You are
twist
my
on
little
top of this main
snowflower.
story.
Beautiful, but
Otherwise,
with no light
more
of your
likely,
own.
she has nothing to do with
Destined to
Arissa,
mount
and
wither.
she is just the Arissa
Destiny.
copy and paste character.
Why is that all
Or
everyone
archetype.
says? We could have been happy. But you threw it all away.
Now Seka's being back to just being kind of whiny. And their
Foxfire!
attempts to be
You have some skill.
dramatic
but not
often comes
much.
off as whiny. I feel like I may have listened to this in Japanese at some point
Foxfire! Milaku!
intentionally.
Foxfire, Mutsugoto, Naraku, Yaguruma, Kumon. There is no way you can win. Why do you even try?
Yeah,
You are a tail.
this potentially
My tail.
could be a little bit better voice acted
Face the
in the
truth.
the original Japanese. But then you just would add a lot of reading.
Nothing more, nothing less. That form is a mere fabrication. Foxes deceive, and you deceive even yourself. I am the nine-tailed fox.
Of course, a lot of this has to do with like Japanese mythology of deceptive magical foxes and the nine-tailed fox. So if you don't know anything about that and haven't picked that up through anime, think probably even more than from other animes than something like Naruto, then this is gonna be a very weird story to your average Westerner. Which that has always been the problem with Shadowverse, is that it's been one of the most popular games, or it claims to be one of the most popular games in Japan, but it hasn't really managed to catch the attention of people in the West.
Can a leaf claim to be a tree? A petal, a flower? I can hardly believe this. I'm arguing against my own tales. My own power is sentient, and it denies me. Ridiculous. It is absolutely ludicrous. Foxfire, Mutsugoto. You have no true will, for you are a pale imitation. You have no heart, for you are a hollow illusion. And even if there was some pith to your existence, it does not change that everything you are was stolen from me!
What's funny is that they just cast a spell there without chanting the spell words, which
more terrifying fate
makes it
but you must not fear.
Makes it kind of pointless to have the
many times
the spell chants.
But I have gained nothing but pain. I have stabbed you as you cried, sundered you as you screamed.
And then once again we have a flashback to what was said 5 minutes ago.
A soul. No one can take that from you. No one. So there is no need to fear.
I am Sekka!
And what are you going to do, Sekka? What can you do? You are but a fraction of my power. You cannot defeat me.
You're wrong!
Prove it.
Fine. Foxfire! Shiratori!
What's funny is with the glowing aura around the characters.
I thought it was weird. If you're so much stronger, why'd you need me to come to you?
Like
You could've
the
found me
whole
and
aura
killed me.
glowing around the
You
characters
could've hunted me down and
definitely
eaten me.
makes it feel
You
like
could've reached me
they're
before the
inspired by something like Dragon Ball Z.
You never even tried.
But clearly they don't have the animation budget for anything like that.
But I'm different.
And
Even
so
when I'm
it is a
scared, I don't
pathetic
stop.
comparison.
I keep running and running, faster than anyone.
You're a fool! Foxfire! Mutsugoto! Naraku! Yaguruma! Kumon!
Foxfire!
I kind of wish there was a way that this story could be told to you as you're playing a card game.
You're the fool here.
Each turn you get another line of
You're the
dialogue,
nine-tailed fox,
or
right?
as you're just playing
Do
against
some easy
random
math.
people, it's
right now, you have four
it's
tails,
playing almost like in the background as a TV.
and I have 5. That is definitely bigger than 4. You've been scared all along, haven't you? That's why you tricked me into thinking you were my mom. That was the only chance you had. Because the truth is, in a fight, you don't stand a chance. You used up all 4 of your fox flames, but I have 1 more.
Sekka...
Yeah, often
It's
in
over.
collectible card games,
You don't get to say my
you
name.
spend a lot of time waiting for the other
Sorry,
player
I was
to
wrong.
play, so it would be
I will not
interesting
take
if you
from
could
anymore.
find
I
a
promise.
way to
So,
show this
please.
as you're waiting for the other player to
You
decide
know
to
why
play.
you're in this sorry state? Because you tried to trick everyone. You tried, but you failed.
You're right. I failed. I have not done anything wrong.
Yes, you have. You should have been a better liar! If you were a better liar, you wouldn't have been torn apart. If you were a better liar, I might have gladly returned to you. You have no one to blame but yourself. Come! My fifth tail of fire!
Please, stop! Please don't kill me! Don't eat me!
I'm sick of that line. Foxfire! Gulkasai!
And then they get turned into an orb that just gets absorbed. I guess
Goodbye.
that's eating.
I don't need you anymore.
Not that I
I
expected
won't
the game
ever
to
lose my way again.
show it brutally being
I'm sad.
showing the mother brutally
hurts
being
so
torn
bad,
apart
but
and eaten
I
like an
won't
animal
fall.
would.
I am Sekka, the nine-tailed fox. I will be the spark that sweeps fire across the earth.
So this whole thing
Oh
was just a
my.
setup.
Imagine getting taken over by a part of your own body. What a tragedy. Old Ninetails acted clever, but she was a fool.
This Flawless
She was
almost
so close to
feels
the
like
throne, and
she
let
should
it
just be
slip
the
from her
narrator
paws. But
that
it doesn't matter.
has
It
always
doesn't
been in
matter
all
what
the
characters
chapters
are on
and
the
stories.
stage. Velsar
But she
will
wasn't there at day one.
fall.
And she
And now
interacts
we
with the
have
characters.
cute little
So
Sekka.
she just
She's finally
always
found herself.
makes it kind of
But
obvious that
this
she's
new
secretly the
Ninetales
big bad
is not
guy.
as ruthless as the last. A pity. The werewolves were so cruel to her, and yet she showed them mercy. But here, compassion's rewarded only with death. And so, the tale of the little fox that could comes to an end. Rather tedious, if I may say so myself.
Yeah,
I
arguably
do
they
hope
shouldn't
the
use the
future
word
will prove
tedious
more
because
exciting.
this
But
game
for now, the time
is
has come for
tedious,
me
and
to
the story
slumber
alone
once more.
is tedious without even doing the battles. And there's no interaction, there's no dialogue choices or anything like this. Where that is something, I suppose, if you were playing a traditional RPG or even a traditional visual novel, you would probably get more of that prompt to say 3 different things, and so then you could cut the dialogue into thirds. There are 9 chapters here. If every dialogue from Sekka was a prompt to say 3 different things, and then that led to 3 different potential responses, you would definitely shorten things up and leave it for the really obsessive players who would want to play the game multiple times to see every line of dialogue and every response, whereas your average player could just pick their choice, move along with the story, and not care about what the other dialogue prompts would have been, what the other responses would have been. You'd still have to do the same amount of voice acting, but you wouldn't have to do quite as much writing, and it definitely would speed this whole process up, which I definitely think is the case here.
The ending of our newest tale is as of yet unwritten. The cycle repeats again and again. Claws and fangs break and shatter before fading into darkness.
And
They
this
strive
ending
with
and
all
intro
their
may
strength,
be the
but
same
cannot defy fate.
for
They
each of the
stretch
4
forth their
characters.
hands, but cannot grasp victory.
I suppose it can't be helped. The curtains of fate have already fallen on this stage. Pride, peace, resolve, resignation. None of it matters in the end. This play was written to be a tragedy from the start. What a pity. It breaks my heart. Just kidding. I left my heart behind forever ago. Anyhow, the cycles continue until fate leads them to the ultimate conclusion. Isn't that right, Nexus?
We're finally back to Nexus.
It's been quite some time, hasn't it?
Which we'd kind of forgotten about her.
Guardian of this world, why do you seek endless cycles of death and rebirth?
Why do you think?
Thou art but a broken vessel, destined to succumb.
So we get a definition of who Flowers is.
There's no need to get bent out of shape. Why, I am doing all this just for you.
Now, the problem here,
Nexus.
also if you look on the side here, you can see she has what looks like a weapon from a previous story as far as time travel.
This world is under my control. No one can meddle in it unless I say so.
Yeah.
Vessel of stagnation, know thy fate is destruction.
So,
I am a keeper.
there was supposed to be
Of serenity. I bring
6
unto worlds.
of 6 keepers, and we've pretty much now being told about a keeper of stagnation who she's the vessel.
It's very lovely if I do say so myself.
But we may never actually see that keeper.
Well then, it's
And frankly,
time for me to slumber once again. Next, we'll revisit that nostalgic place.
So,
Perhaps
yeah.
this time, the bullet of fate will hit its mark.
My guess is that Shadowverse will never, ever actually wrap up its story with all the keepers. Like, because they just got way too ambitious with it. And there's the Keeper of Serenity, which was introduced way back here in the prologue. And then somewhere around the Guild War, they talked about the Keeper of Purgation. And then Gears of Rebellion and Seeds of Conflict once again was either Serenity or Purgation. An Invasion of the World Reaver was still part of that other section. So like you kind of had a consistent main story as far as the first 3 chapters, and then 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 and 4 are mostly separate story, but then 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are all merged to one story. And it seems like 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 are all the same story. And we can see 14 is called the final loop. So there's something in that also. This also paints a weird picture. The thing we should do now is we should struggle through this story, because the way this is going to play out is if this doesn't have any characters, then that'll be 1 hour and a half to 2 hour long experience to get through this chapter, and then this will be probably another hour and a half, 2 hour long thing. And you can see, yes, this is back to the tower and the cowboy town. So it is the same world, it's just a world set in the future. So, yeah. On the other hand, I have been, particularly with playing Fallout 3, making 3-hour long episodes. And I haven't been really enjoying that much. It's been a lot of talking, a lot of having to drink water and take breaks in the middle of recording to do all of that. So I think what I prefer to do is just assume that there will be 5 more episodes and then we'll be done with Shadowverse completely. And then that will be that for Shadowverse, and just we'll make 5 more episodes. Is it worth loading to open a pack in the shop? And I'm not even going to use these cards. Not really. But the characters specifically in the shop, you see a few cards that are around these characters, but even that is kind of behind the times because this is in Shillendrag and not, and this is Omen of Stores, the newest expansion. So yeah, it's still not really covering the demon characters in the 9 Fox. I will say that the animation polish is way better in Shadowverse compared to Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, but the cards are just not that interesting compared to Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards that exist in the real world, and people have been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! As the 3rd or 4th pick behind Pokemon card game and Magic the Gathering a lot more. If there are any actual physical Shadowverse cards, they are only in Japan, really. And the art here is kind of okay, but not extreme. I will also say, though, that their art style is a little bit more interesting. I guess Dawn of Calamity would have been when they tried to introduce Sekai here. So maybe there was. Maybe it's just kind of all over the place as far as when they introduce cards and what cards get introduced and what cards come back. In a lot of ways, it definitely does feel like they're often trying to make the same types of characters over and over again, and then failing to really do anything with it, and that they are more just leaning on archetypes. It gets way back here where you start to have some of the World Seed Natura cards, but Storm of Rival, as far as its art, is supposed to be in the cowboy town. So there is kind of a disconnect in which the main story pretends like it's related to the cards coming out, but a fairly significant amount of the cards that come out actually don't have anything to do with the main story, particularly when you start to get to some of this older classic card packs, and the artwork, particularly on these classic card packs, definitely shows a different style. Frankly, a style I think I prefer a little bit more than what the newer card styles became. And the danger certainly here is if they had the resources, they'd almost certainly try and remake all of the cards. Just in total, try and make them much more kid-friendly. I do like the general just attack and defense artwork and the focus on the artwork. And that's something that like Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel could improve upon, certainly, as them as real world Yu-Gi-Oh cards have a ton of text. They have like the name, their color class, they have a character class type. Most Yu-Gi-Oh cards are effect monsters or spells or traps, so they have a description of what they do. Often that text gets ridiculous. The attack and defense is up here. It's not very colorful or upfront. It leaves very little room for actual art on a Yu-Gi-Oh card. Whereas Master Duel could definitely try to embrace something more like this, where it is all about the art. I would also say that the Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, they have like shiny effects for foil cards and extra rare cards, but it doesn't look particularly interesting. Whereas somebody here has made a specific animation art for this specific card and put that extra effort into it. But yeah, just looking at these cards, none of these characters are really recognizable, and that's usually how every expansion goes. And the one thing that caught my attention was with Shadowverse is that some of the anime characters look like they might be a little bit more cute, or moe in style, or a little bit lewd, showing a little bit of cleavage and thigh, and there's still a little bit of that, but there's less of that. And it wasn't enough down that direction. Is an example of like cute, that there wasn't enough in that direction to make that justifiable to want to play the game, on top of all the other problems with the game. It is a sad state for collectible card games, though. I will say that there isn't enough competition. In the time that I have started playing Shadowverse, Activision Blizzard has been started through the process of being acquired by Microsoft. And since Blizzard owns Hearthstone, that might create a scenario where there might be some big revival to go back to playing Hearthstone, despite the problems with Hearthstone. Which the main problems with Hearthstone was the kind of people being irate at Activision Blizzard for a multitude of things, specifically in Hearthstone. Like a Hearthstone player supporting free Hong Kong movement, and then Activision Blizzard very quickly like silencing and denouncing that person in a very, we want to sell our games in China, pandering way, sellout way. And that really was about the only main problem. The secondary problems is just Activision Blizzard. It became very well known that Activision Blizzard was full of toxic employees, and it was a toxic work environment. But if Microsoft cleans up that mess to even some certain level, interesting, a Krampus character. It's kind of interesting that they're like 7 or 8 years, I think, into Shadowverse, and just now they're making a Krampus character. But yeah, if Microsoft actually acquires Activision Blizzard and cleans up that mess, there is a chance to go back to Hearthstone. Although I don't know if I really want to go back to Hearthstone with Ben Brode not being in charge, but maybe he would go back to being in charge instead of making the Marvel card game. But I think the Marvel card game would be even more popular than Yu-Gi-Oh! And collectible card games run into that problem in general, is that Hearthstone has problems, Magic the Gathering has problems of being too greedy and too expensive. Shadowverse has problems of just not being well known enough. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has problems of potentially being maybe a little too greedy because it's Konami that's making Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. There's also a potential there that they might just abandon Master Duel. Although it's been so successful, they'd be a fool to do it and not support it. And so far, so good on that. They've had growing pains, and they launched it in what was basically a beta form, which needs a lot more content and work. But yeah, it's really hard to find a collectible card game you can stick with. Anyways, I'm mostly rambling. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.